Trainer. I've tried making this video about 30 times and I keep stumbling and doing outtakes, so I'm now just going to do it live. And today I'm going to talk to you about Jeremy Hunt, the Chancellor. Yes, our latest Chancellor, and this video that he's made today where he's explaining to us, the little people of this country, Jeremy's come along to explain why inflation's high and what he's doing to try and fix it. And it's being widely ridiculed, right? They're calling him Mr. Bean because he explains inflation through the medium of a cup of coffee. He's in the Treasury canteen buying his cup of coffee. Why does the price keep going up? And that's how Jeremy explains inflation to us. So there's a few things actually that I think are quite good about this video, and a few things that explain why it's being ridiculed and some lessons that you can learn, because I think it must be really frustrating if you're in a comms team and you're in an organisation like this and you try to do what you think is a good thing, right? If you take any comms professional and put them in any organisation, they're going to tell you to do more video. It's the right thing to do. It's exactly what you should be doing. You should be making video. And then this idea of taking something that's a bit technical and a bit abstract and making it more down to earth and accessible, well, there's nothing wrong with that, right? That's exactly what you should be doing. So sometimes it can be a little soul destroying when you do that. And again, you look at this as a video. If you forget that it's Jeremy Hunt and just look at it as a video, it's perfectly well shot. It's good visuals in it. I think he speaks very well, very clearly, easy to understand. It's, 2 minutes, 11 seconds. So it's a good duration for social media. As a piece of video content, I think it's perfectly good. I've picked out here I think one of the worst stills where he does look a bit awkward, he does look a bit robotic, a bit stiff, self-conscious. I think the Mr. Bean thing kind of coming across there a little bit, but actually through the rest of it, I think it's decent enough. So how come it's being ridiculed? And it's more than just ridicule, right? And I think sometimes we get into a false sense of security. You look at reach, and you might go, well, do you know what? 1.2 million views, well, that's good. That's succeeded. Well, has it really? Because if a proportion of these 1.2 million people, if they're angry, which I know some of them are, then it's not good. It's not good reach. And if they really are ripping him to shreds and ridiculing him, it's not good. Reach on its own is not good. We don't do things for the sake of reach. So why has this happened and what can we learn from it? So I think that the first thing is, they're too late, right? Inflation's been a problem for more than a year, and it's been a crisis for about 6 months. So the time to explain inflation was September or October. What was Jeremy doing, or what was the Treasury or the UK government doing in September or October? They were fannying about, right? While the rest of us were trying to get on top of this. So they're too late. The second thing is, this fails to take into account the work of others, right? There are other people who've already done a cracking job explaining why inflation's high. Martin Lewis, the money-saving expert, Citizens Advice have put content out. Johnny, the third-year modern studies student down the road, he's been doing it as well. And this video today fails to take account of the work of others. So what they could have done was shared someone else's content with a quote, or a response, a retweet, a quote tweet with their interpretation. Right? So we've not been sitting around just waiting for Jeremy Hunt to ride to the rescue to explain inflation. So the video is a little patronising. Now I think also, the medium of explaining inflation through the cup of coffee, so it's not bad. I think at times it maybe risks oversimplifying inflation. Well, maybe not all as thick as Jeremy Hunt suggests. I think the other thing that people will feel, and this is maybe why it's making them a little bit angry, is, well, we've already given up our cup of coffee, Jeremy. We know it's all right for you, probably in your subsidised canteen. 6 months into this crisis, you're still having your cup of coffee. Oh, good for you. You're all right. I'm glad you're okay. Let me tell you about us. So it invites that kind of animosity as well, and it adds to this notion of they just don't get it. These Tories, I've told you, they just don't get it. They're so out of touch. They're not like us. So what could they have done differently? Well, one of the things is, if you're going to do explainer videos, then do explainer videos. You can't just do one. You can't just look at somebody like Ross Atkins at the BBC or Dr. Julie Smith, the way that they bring things to life and explain things, and think, oh, I'll have a bit of that. I quite like some of that goodwill. And do one explainer video and expect everybody to think, oh, Jeremy Hunt's a down-to-earth guy now. God, he's one of us. Oh, thank God, Jeremy. Love you. Thank you. It doesn't work like that. So if you're committed to explainer videos, you have to keep doing explainer videos, not just one and then leave it. And then the other thing is, there are other people in the organisation. And again, the clients that we work with, when we do media training or podcast production or when Emma's in doing videos, it doesn't need to be the CEO, the managing director, the person right at the top that fronts the videos. There's a department here. There's a whole organisation. There might be other people better placed than Jeremy Hunt to front up the video, right? Who can do it themselves, who don't have some of that political baggage, that history, that reputation that Jeremy Hunt has. If the objective is explain inflation and highlight what they're doing to try and get it down, it doesn't need to be the person at the top that's doing that. Often when we talk to organisations about joining TikTok and Instagram, etc., you don't need to take the most senior person and put them on Instagram and TikTok. But there may well be elsewhere in your organisation people that are just naturally good at it, people that get short form video. So maybe find other people, value the other people in your team, and let them be the stars of these videos. And I think finally, and this would be the real advice that I would give, if you are in a comms team, and if you've got somebody at the top like Jeremy Hunt who thinks, well, no, I do need to be in this video. Well, don't just put them in it and let them speak to the camera. You could take the role, if you're the communications professional, you take the role of journalist. In the same way that a reporter from BBC News would stand and face the camera, talk a little bit about inflation and why it's high, and then what would Chris Mason do? He would do that bit, and then he'd bring on the government minister and hold them to account. Right? He would ask them the questions that the people at home might be asking. He would challenge him. Instead of just the comms team parroting out what the government wants to say, let's have the comms team putting the guy under a bit of pressure, testing him, playing devil's advocate, putting in some challenging questions, rather than just giving him an easy ride and letting him sit down with a comfy cup of coffee explaining inflation. Right? Take the role of the journalist, and if you can't do that, then you shouldn't be in the comms team. Right? If you're not capable of putting the questions that I would want to ask, if you can't set up a camera and film Jeremy Hunt and you ask him those questions, you shouldn't be anywhere near the communications team. So that's what you should be doing. That's why this video is being ridiculed, because it's out of touch. It's out of the blue, an explainer video about inflation. It suggests that he's already continued quite happy buying his cup of coffee while some of us can't. It's about him being the star, failing to recognise the work of others. And there's no challenge. It's like, well, hang on, Jeremy, why did inflation get so high? Why did your government fanny around a few months ago and let it get out of control? And while we're at it, why is my fuel support allowance not continuing? Why are you stopping that in April? And I'm not really bothered what inflation does. I'm concerned about my friends that are teachers that are striking, and the ambulance workers and the NHS staff, and how I'm going to heat my home. And my God, Jeremy, I've gone from maybe feeling a little bit of goodwill about this video to thinking, how dare you? How dare you? Who the hell do you think you are? So there we are. That's a few thoughts on this video. Could easily have been improved, and the golden rule is quite simply see yourselves as others see you. And I think if someone in the comms team had the guts to speak up and explain that to Jeremy Hunt or their boss or whoever it was that decided to go with this could